Assumptions for Mann Whitney U test, which is a non-parametric unpaired test, and assumptions for Wilcoxon Signed Rank Test, which is non-parametric paired test. Assumptions for Mann Whitney U test, which is a non-parametric test, a test that is used when the data are not normally distributed. The Mann Whitney U test is also known as Wilcoxon Rank Test, is a non-parametric statistical test for data that lacks normal distribution. It is equivalent to the two-sample independent t-test. The difference is that the Mann Whitney U test only used for data that are non-parametric. So it is used to compare two independent groups, and it is used when the sample distribution are not normal. So when there are two groups and one of the group or two groups the data in it are not normally distributed, then the independent t-test cannot be used, and Mann Whitney U test is an alternative statistical test to use. So it is also used when the sample size is too small. So when to use the test? Use the test to compare two groups that are unrelated, not matched, unpaired, independent. Used when the data can be ordinal. Ordinal data is categorical data with order in it, such as the Likert scale, which is used in questionnaires and survey. Or the data are continuous, interval, or ratio data but lacks normality. So it is used when the data are not normally distributed or skewed to the right or to the left. The test can be used when there are outliers. Outliers are extreme high or low scores or values that deviate from the rest of the data set. So to perform the test, hypotheses have to be generated. The null hypothesis will state that the distribution of the two groups are identical and the medians are equal. The alternative hypothesis will state that the distribution of the two groups differ. The way to accept or reject the null hypothesis is based on the p-value. If it is less than 0.05, then reject the null hypothesis. So what are assumptions? Assumptions are certain conditions that must be met prior to performing any statistical test to generate a valid and reliable result. Every statistical test have a set of assumptions. Violation of these assumptions, or if the one assumption or more than one assumption is not met or are not met, then the findings from the statistical test can be unreliable, which can lead to incorrect conclusion. So assumptions for the Mann Whitney U test are that the sample should be independent, separate, unpaired. The response variable, which is the dependent variable, is continuous but not normally distributed or ordinal. The two groups have similar shapes, distribution form, and data are not normally distributed. So there are 6 major assumptions that have to be fulfilled before choosing to use Mann Whitney U test for the data set. The first assumption is that the data or the dependent variable can be continuous or ordinal. So the dependent variable measured at a continuous or ordinal level, continuous variables that are on numerical scales such as revision time, exam performance, weight. Ordinal variable is a categorical variable but with order in it, such as the 5-point Likert scale that is used in questionnaires and survey, in which the response from participant is given on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 for strongly disagree and 5 for strongly agree. So there is a category in the response and there is an order. So it's called ordinal variable or ordinal data. The second assumption is that independent variable consists of 2 categorical groups. So there should be 2 groups, 2 categorical groups. They are unpaired independent. Example: gender, male or female; employment status, employed, unemployed; smoking, is a smoker or non-smoker. The third assumption is the independence of observations. What does that mean? No associations between the observation or observations in each group of the independent variable or between groups. So different participants in each group. No participant participate in more than one group. So violation of the assumption, then you need to use the Wilcoxon Signed Rank Test for paired sample. The fourth assumption is that similar data distribution shapes. There should be same data shape distribution for both groups of the independent variable. The fifth assumption is random sampling. The sample is collected randomly from population and the samples represent the population. And the sixth assumption is that there is no need for the data to be normally distributed. Non-normal distribution, it means that the test does not require normality of the data. The test can be used when normality is violated. Assumptions for Wilcoxon Signed Rank Test, which is a non-parametric paired test. The test is non-parametric statistical test that is used to compare 2 related or paired or matched samples or repeated measurements on a single sample to determine whether there is a population mean ranks difference. So it is an alternative test to the paired t-test, as this Wilcoxon Signed Rank Test is for paired samples. This test is non-parametric alternative to paired t-test when the data are not normally distributed and the assumption for the t-test is violated, which is the normality of the data. To perform the test, hypotheses will be generated. The null hypothesis will state that the median difference between the groups equal to 0. i.e. there is no difference between the paired samples. The alternative hypothesis will state that the median difference between the pairs is not equal to 0. To determine whether there is a significant difference or not, p-value will be calculated, and if it is less than 0.05, then the null hypothesis will be rejected. The advantages of using this paired non-parametric test is that it does not require normality of the data. So if the normality assumption is violated and the data are in two groups and those two groups are related or matched, then this Wilcoxon test will be the best to go for. The test is suitable for ordinal and continuous data that lacks normality. If the data are continuous and normal, then the paired t-test is the one to use. The test is also suitable to be used when there are outliers. Outliers are extreme high or low scores that deviate from the rest of the data set. The assumptions for the Wilcoxon Signed Rank Test are: the data should be paired, the data measured on continuous or ordinal scale, the distribution of the difference score is symmetric, the difference between the two groups are continuous, not discrete. Continuous means that it can have fraction in it. Discrete, there is no fraction, it is an integer number. The differences are mutually independent and the differences can be ranked, and the sample is randomly selected from population. Those are the major assumptions that have to be fulfilled prior to performing this non-parametric test. So there are 7 major assumptions for Wilcoxon Signed Rank Test that have to be fulfilled. The first assumption is that the dependent variable or data or the response or the outcome has to be continuous or ordinal. So the dependent variable is measured at an ordinal or continuous level. Ordinal variable is a variable that is categorical but with order in it, such as a 5-point Likert scale. Continuous variable with scores in it can be in a format of ratio or intervals. So ordinal variables are a variable with data that can be ranked, such as the Likert scale, which is frequently used in survey and questionnaire to obtain a response from participant. The scale can be from 5 points, Likert scale 7, and so on. And the response can be either strongly disagree or strongly agree, and so on. The continuous variable can be interval scale or ratio, such as revision time. For this test, the data has to be non-nominal. Cannot use categorical data for this test. Categorical data, a data that have categories in it, whether it is 2 categories, 3 categories, or 4 categories, as this test is not suitable for binary data or dichotomous data or nominal data. The second assumption is that the data should be non-parametric. So if it is a parametric data, then this test is not suitable, and that can lead to violation of the assumption for this test. So the data does not assume normal distribution. The difference between paired observation are not normally distributed. The third assumption is that there should be paired observations. The independent variable consists of two categorical, paired related groups or matched pairs. So it has to be two groups that are related, or a repeated measurement on the same sample. So measurement within the pair should be dependent, i.e. related, and each pair represent two measurements taken on the same subject or on matched subject, so that same subject are present in both groups. Example, those who participate in pre-test and post-test, same individual measured before the test and after the test. The fourth assumption is that the independence within pairs. So each pairs of observation are independent of each other, i.e. the outcome of one pair does not influence or affect the outcome of another. The fifth assumption is that the distribution differences is symmetrical. So the distribution of the differences between the two related groups is symmetrical in shape around the median, as here the median is taken as a parameter for estimation. Violation of this assumption, distribution of symmetry, then another test can be used, which is the sign test. The sixth assumption is the sample size. Small sample size can be used for this as it is a non-parametric test. So the test is suitable for a small sample size. And finally, the last major assumption is random sampling. Samples selected randomly from population, and the sample should represent population. If you find this video useful, do subscribe to the channel, leave any comment in the indicated box, and activate the notification bell to receive the recent and latest release into the channel of several different video clips, and click on the like icon and share the video link with others so the channel can expand and improve to include a large scope of different statistical method and how to analyze data using several different statistical packages such as SPSS, Excel, Stata, Jamovi, R-Statistic, or Statistics, GraphPad, Prism, GPower, Python, and Mann. If you are a student or a researcher and you have a data, whether it is quantitative or qualitative, and you want to perform statistical analysis on that data using any of the softwares listed here, whether it's SPSS, Excel, Stata, Jamovi, R-Statistics, GraphPad, Prism, Mann, GMP, Python, then do contact me to arrange for either a one-to-one private tutor session or a training course on any of these statistical packages. My contact details are given here, so don't hesitate to write to me or email me if you need a private one-to-one tutoring or a training course.